The phone rang 22 times in an hour. I know, my daughter counted it. She assumed it was a game. I was 300 miles from home, on a beach blanket on Harbour Isle, watching my son dig a hole to China with a plastic shovel. My mother was calling from the parking lot of a resort in Seabrook Bay. My sister stood beside her, yelling at a cashier who could not offer them a room they had not paid for. But I didn't know that then. All I knew was the beach, the sand between my feet, and that for the first time in 4 years, I had chosen my kids over my family's expectations. But that phone call, and the 21 that followed, were merely the end. How we got here, let me tell you. Welcome back to Silent Truth Stories. My name is Marissa, I'm 33, and I work as a bookkeeper in a tiny town outside Charleston. This is how my sister got my mother to cut me and my kids out of the family vacation, and what happened when they tried to pay for it with money that was already gone. If you have ever been the person that has to pay for everything and get nothing in return, leave a comment. I worked at Dr. Meredith's vet practice down Route 16 a bit past the Ridgeway fuel stop. Bookkeeper. $47,000 a year. Not glamorous. Not terrible. I balanced the books, did the payroll, tracked medication inventories and made sure the numbers added up so Dr. Meredith could focus on the animals. I was good at that. Numbers don't lie. They don't take loans. They don't make you feel guilty around Thanksgiving. My apartment was 12 minutes from the clinic, 14 minutes from Ava's elementary school, 20 minutes from Noah's preschool if I caught the light on Willow Avenue. Ava was 8 years old. Noah was 5. Their father had departed when Noah was 6 months old, and the less said about it the better. He's not in this story. I got up at 5:30 every morning. I made 2 sandwiches. Peanut butter and jelly for Ava. Turkey and cheese for Noah. He'd gag if he saw anything with seeds. Then I drove to school, dropped them off, got to the clinic by 7:45, picked them up from aftercare at 5:15, got home by 5:40, made dinner, dealt with bath time, read books, put them to bed, and did it all over again the next day. I have a budget worksheet with 14 columns. I cut coupons. On Tuesdays I would fill up, when the Maple gas station discounted 6 cents. I started a trip savings account, placed $150 in it monthly and acted like it wasn't there. I was a good money man. I had to be. But being good with money in my family was less a skill and more a target. People don't hate you because you are poor. They hate the fact that you are cautious. When they don't have an account for savings. The nay they need a yes. My father realized that. He was the only one who did so. 4 years ago, my father was in a hospital bed at St. Catherine Medical Center with tubes in his arms and a kidney that had quit on him. Arthur Bennett, plumber, 40 years crawling under houses and threading copper tubing. 62 years old, yet looking 80. His hands were as rough as roofing slate. He did half the toilets in our county and never sent a bill in late. I was 29. Claudia was 34. We stood at either end of his bed, like 2 mismatched bookends. He was looking at me, not at her. Marissa, I want you to take care of the things. He meant the money, the insurance, Mom's bills, the house, all of it. He reached beneath his pillow and pulled out a manila folder. He asked the nurse to get it out of his truck. Inside were Mom's life insurance policy, her bank password and a list of the monthly invoices, all in his own hand. Keep the lights on for your mama. That's all I'm interested in. I took the envelope. My hands trembled. His did not. Claudia looked out the window. She said nothing in the room. She waited for us to be in the lift. Her face was the color of old chalk. She looked at the doors. She took out her phone and typed, and my pocket buzzed. I read it in the parking lot. Dad always preferred you. Congrats on your small promotion. After that, I sat in my car for 20 minutes. I'd foreseen something like it. The hurt was not surprising. The surprise was that Dad asked me, not her, and we both understood why. Claudia had written 3 bad checks to the energy provider in a year. She borrowed $2,000 from Dad's retirement fund and never paid it back. He loved her. He just didn't trust her with a checkbook. 3 months later, on a Tuesday in October, Dad died. It was raining so hard the funeral home's gutters were overflowing. The life insurance paid $85,000. I sat down at my kitchen table with a calculator and a legal pad and did as he asked. Hospital's medical debt, $31,000. Mom's house, bathroom subfloor deteriorated from a leak, roof repaired, $8,000. New water heater, the old one was held together with duct tape and hope, $2,400. Net balance after all of that, $23,600. I put $22,000 in a savings account in Mom's name. Emergency reserve. Untouchable. Everyone else paid for the funeral flowers and reception food since Claudia said she would do the catering and then she didn't. Then I set up a transfer of $300 a month from my bank account to Mom's on the 1st of every month, like rent. Except I was paying my mom's power, water, and grocery shortfall. $1,400 in Social Security only goes so far when your house is paid for but your prescriptions aren't. Claudia did not add anything. I've got my own family to look after, she remarked. She had Brandon, a house with a pool and at least one Lexus. Her family has enough to worry about. But what Claudia did have was leverage. Sophie and Ethan. And Mom's two youngest grandchildren were the currency Claudia spent liberally. I'm not bringing the kids over if you're going to keep inviting Marissa over on weekends. She said it like a weather forecast. Informal. Fact of the matter. Mom stopped inviting me out on the weekends. Ava figured it out when she inquired why Grandma only wanted to see her on Wednesdays. I had no good reply. Just changed the schedule and still sending the $300. Ever since I was 9, the Arthur had gone to the beach every summer. Bramble Coast, South Carolina, the same coastline. Same rented cabins with screened-in porches and the sand that got in everything. At 4 o'clock in the morning Dad packed the cooler. Mom would carry enough sunblock for an army. The first hour Claudia and I would argue about the front seat, the following 3 would sleep against opposing windows. It was the one week of the year where nobody argued about money. Dad settled the bill. When Dad died, the tradition should have perished right there with him. But I couldn't drop it. Ava was a big fan of the tide pools. Noah was born in August and his first trip was when he was 10 months old. He laughed, eating sand. So I continued going. I rented the rooms, worked at the grocery store, packed the car and paid. 2 rooms at the Seaside Haven Cottages on Jekyll last summer. 4 nights. The total cost is $2,200. I paid $1,800. I begged Claudia 3 times and finally she Venmo'd me $400 2 months late. Mom paid nothing. I didn't say anything. I told myself it was for the children. That's what you say when you're paying for folks who don't say thank you. I had a trip savings account at my credit union. Auto deposit $150 month. That April it contained $2,600. I separated it from my checking, clean, undisturbed, set aside for one item. That was the summer before last. My sister had another plan this summer. It was a grey Thursday in March, 3 months before summer, and Brandon Hayes was in Claudia's driveway making the kid handoff. Brandon was 40 and drove a black F-150 with a busted taillight and sold industrial flooring for a living. He and Claudia were divorced 2 years, the kind of divorce where they loathed each other just enough to keep messaging. Sophie got out of his truck. Next was Ethan. His rucksack was dragging across the pavement. Brandon leaned against the side of the truck and uttered it like he'd been practicing it. You know Marissa rejected me for that $5,000, right? He'd asked me for a loan last autumn to establish a side business putting luxury vinyl in new constructions. No, politely. Of course. One time. He had not forgotten. Claudia crossed her arms. She's uptight. That's why she turned you down. Always has been. Brandon looked at the house. Your mom's still on Marissa's bank account, isn't she? As a user authorized. Claudia did not answer immediately. So Brandon shrugged, as if it were basic maths. Book the journey. Use the card. Marissa sat on Dad's money like it was hers all those years and this family is responsible. Claudia hesitated 3 seconds. I know because Brandon told somebody later on, and that else told Nora, and Nora informed me. She had 3 seconds of conscience remaining. She owes us, remarked Claudia. Brandon grinned and climbed into his pickup. That night I was at home, helping Ava with her times tables. I didn't know anything about it. I'd have no idea for weeks. But the arrangement was already made and my name was on the receipt. Sophie's 10th birthday. Mom's place. April. The dogwoods were flowering and Helen had hung a paper banner across the front porch that read Happy Birthday Sophie in purple glitter letters. I bought 24 cupcakes at the bakery on Cedar Street. Chocolate with vanilla icing. Her favorite when she was 6 years old. Sophie was holding the box. Noah had a gift bag with a watercolor set in it. The party was okay for the first hour. Children in the backyard. Helen is cooking sausages. Nora Whitman on porch swing, sipping sweet tea and watching kids run from church. Claudia then grabbed me and dragged me into the kitchen. She left the door open a crack and leaned against the counter, arms crossed the way she does when she's made up her mind. I have to tell you something about the summer trip. I waited. We decided to go to Seabrook Bay this year. Me, Mom and the kids. Again I waited. Your kids aren't arriving. My kids don't want them around. The remarks fell flat, as if she'd rehearsed them. I glanced beyond her to the living room. Mom, with a card between 2 fingers, stood by the couch. My debit card. It was the emergency card I'd given her 2 years ago for groceries or doctor's appointments. Why do you have my card, Mom? Helen stared at Claudia and then at me. I need it for the reservation, she said. Nora Whitman was sitting in the living room. She witnessed it everything. She observed Claudia's jaw clench. She watched Helen take the card. She spotted me looking at both of them and doing the maths. I nodded once. Take it, I said. Then I phoned my kids, got the cupcake box and left. It was a 14-minute journey home. Ava sat quiet behind me. Noah whistled a tune from a cartoon I didn't know. 2 streets from home, Ava inquired, why did we leave early? I stared in the rearview mirror at her, 8 years old, her father's brown eyes and my stubbornness. Sometimes grown-ups need a little space, baby. She took it. Kids do that. They take the answer and stash it elsewhere. I parked, brought them in the house and put on a movie. Then I sat down on my bed with my phone and accessed my banking app. I had detected a $400 withdrawal from my bank a month ago. I phoned Mom. She explained she had used the wrong card at the chemist's. I'll pay you back, she said to him. But I looked at it more. Another 3 withdrawals in the last 2 months. 80 at a petrol station, 120 in Target, 65 at a restaurant I'd never been to. 2 weeks before the birthday party I phoned the bank. I wanted to take the authorized user off. The woman on the phone said I required both parties there or a notarized request. 7 to 10 working days. I didn't have 7 to 10 days. So I drove the next morning up to another credit union across from the tire business. I opened a new checking and savings account and moved everything across. $2,600 in savings, $1,400 in checking. There was the old account with $12, and my mother had a debit card. I didn't tell anyone. Here's what I've learned about money and the family. If someone's holding your bank card like they own it, they're not protecting it. They're holding you near. 2 weeks later, and it was Sunday dinner at Mom's. Fried chicken, canned green beans, tube rolls. Claudia was in one of the moods I knew. The one where she obtained something she wanted and wanted others to know. She was on her phone before we'd even cleared the plates. See this, said. She flipped the screen to Mom. Seabrook Bay Island. A resort with white balconies, a blue swimming pool, palms that looked too wonderful to be genuine. 4 nights. View of the sea. Kids club included. 3,200 all in. She flipped through the photos like she was trying to peddle it. The second night has a seafood banquet and a dolphin tour. Mom grinned. That's lovely, honey. Claudia hung up the phone and met my eyes across the table. The look was a mixture of pity and satisfaction, like a cat looking at a bird through glass. You can't afford it anyway, she remarked, and gave a quick, bitter laugh through her nose. Noah sat down beside me, fork poised above his mashed potatoes. He gazed up at her. "Are we going to the beach too, Mommy?" The table was silent. Ava looked down at her plate. Mom stared down at her hands. Claudia took a drink of her tea, as nothing had occurred. "We'll have our own adventure, buddy," I told Noah, patting his shoulder. He continued eating. I didn't answer Claudia. I didn't give her the debate she wanted. I washed the dishes, dried the dishes and put the dishes away in the cabinet the way Mom wanted, big plates on the bottom, small plates on top. Then I took my kids back home. At a red light on Sycamore, I pulled out my phone and entered in the search bar, Savannah Beach Vacation Family. It was 11:30 p.m. and Ava and Noah were asleep in their rooms. I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a cup of coffee that had been cold for an hour. I looked on Harbor Isle, east of Savannah. I'd never been before, but the photographs looked like the kind of location Dad would have picked. No frills. No attempting to impress anyone. Just sand and water and a place to relax on the porch. The Harbor Isle Inn had a room for the last week of June. $89 per night. Ocean view, a slice of blue between buildings, but there was plenty. 4 nights for $356. I did the figures very carefully, like I always do. Gas $200. Food for $300, primarily made in the kitchenette. Activity, kayak rental, ice cream, maybe a dolphin excursion $150. Total, around $1,006. My new account was $2,600. I made a booking. 12 seconds later, the confirmation email arrived. I put it in a folder called Summer and merely scribbled beach on a post-it. I put it on the fridge. The next morning Ava found it. "A beach?" she inquired. "Are we going?" "It is a surprise," I said, and smiled for the first time in weeks. I didn't realize the scope of Claudia's plot until it all blew apart. People say. Brandon had told a friend at the gym. The friend's wife was with Nora at church. Later, sitting on her porch drinking lemonade, Nora told me. Claudia had booked Seabrook Bay in early April, Ocean View Laurel Suites, 2 neighboring suites, $3,200 all up. She left $800 as a deposit. The other $2,400 was due 3 days before check-in. She didn't mean to pay it herself. "Marissa's card will take care of the rest," she told Mom. "She owes us years of not pulling her weight." Mom stopped. She always had. "Are you certain that is right?" she asked. Claudia didn't even blink. "She left the card on you. That's enough of that permission." It was not approval. It was an emergency card to be used for groceries or medicine. But Claudia had already made up her mind what it meant, and Mom had already made up her mind not to fight it. That night Brandon texted her, "Good idea. She won't know till it's over." Claudia sent a thumbs up emoji back. The rest of the $2,400 was charged to a debit card linked to an account with 12 in it, 3 days before check-in. They didn't know what was coming. But I did. May was busy at the clinic. Dr. Meredith was kept busy with allergy season. I liked it like that. Busy kept me from thinking too much. Dr. Meredith noticed, though. "You look lighter lately," she commented once. "I'm just looking forward to summer," I told him. She nodded. Went back to work. I picked up the children at 5:15 every day. One afternoon on the way home Ava fell silent. That's how I realized something was up. "Cousin Sophie said we can't go on the trip because we're not real family," she stated. I held the brake a little too long at the stop sign. "Who told Sophie that?" "Lucas," she said. I grasped the steering wheel and counted to 3. "You are my family. The greatest family I know of. And we're doing our own trip." Noah sat up from the back seat. "Dolphins?" "Maybe with the dolphins," I said. That night, once I'd gone to bed, I opened my banking app. The $300 recurring transfer to Mom glared back at me. 4 years. In total, about $14,400. I'd kept the lights on for her, paid her medications, stocked her groceries, while Claudia drove a Lexus and informed my daughter she wasn't really family. I pushed cancel. A confirmation showed up. I hit confirm. My hands did not tremble. Mom got $1,400 a month from Social Security and had $22,000 saved from Dad's insurance. She would be okay. She wasn't comfortable with me helping, but it's okay. Claudia lived just 10 minutes away. Claudia could buy the groceries for a change. A quick email I sent: "I've modified my budget, Mom. The monthly transfer will not go on. I love you." I've sent it at 9:12 p.m. Mom called 2 minutes later. "What am I to do?" she asked. Her voice was harsh, between confused and accusatory. "You got savings, Mom. Claudia lives 10 minutes distant. Claudia has her own bills." "Same here." There was silence. The kind that plugged up a phone line like water plugging up a crack. "I can't believe you would do this to me," Mom said. "I'm not doing anything to you, Mom. I'm not doing it for you anymore." She cut the queue. 20 minutes later, Claudia texted, "What did you do?" "Mom's crying." I read it and placed the phone down on the counter, face down. I did the dishes from dinner, folded a load of towels and went to bed. I had slept better than I had for months. I brought out the summer clothing from the hall closet a week before the vacation. Ava had grown out of last year's shorts. His trunks still fit, but just barely. I spotted a showbox on the top shelf beneath winter hats and a large bucket filled with ornaments. Dad's boot brand, brown, dusty, on the side, Red Wing. Inside was his union card, a faded photo of him and Mom visiting Jekyll Island in 1988, a receipt for copper fittings and an envelope with my name on it in his handwriting. Capital letters, all caps. The method plumbers write on work orders. I've forgotten about it. He'd given it to me at the hospital, stuffed in the manila envelope with the insurance documents. I had been too overwhelmed to open it then and too sleepy afterwards. I sat on the floor of the closet, ripped the flap and unfurled a sheet of college-ruled notebook paper. His penmanship took up a whole half of the page. "You are the one who keeps her promise, Marissa. Never let your kindness be the key to your wallet for anyone. If the day comes when assisting them hurts you, stop helping. You've kept the lights on long enough. Bring your children to the beach." There are 7 sentences. No speech. Guilt-free. Just a dad that understood it. I folded the letter on its original creases, tucked it into my wallet behind my driver's license, where I could feel it every time I reached for a card. Then I got up and began to pack. At Value Mart, on a Tuesday night, Noah was in the cart, and Ava strolled beside me, too old for it but still leaned on the end when she thought I wasn't looking. Swimsuits. I had a $40 budget. Noah spotted shark goggles immediately, grey rubber with fangs around the lenses. 5.97. Not open to debate. Ava took more time. She lifted up a pink one-piece with starfish on the straps. 14. I examined the seams. "That one," I said. We picked up some flip-flops, spray sunscreen and a mesh beach bag from the bargain bin. Total equals 34.97, a couple of bucks under budget. I brought it all home, shoved everything in a duffel bag, stuffed it at the back of the closet behind the winter clothes. Not concealed as such, simply not seen. As I zipped the bag up, I heard Claudia's voice in my head again. "Your children aren't coming. The kids don't want them there." I stood still and let it stay there. Not as a verdict, but as something someone stated when they confused power with control. I heard Ava laughing from the restroom. She'd found Noah's shark goggles and was making faces in the mirror, while he struggled to get them back. My kids are coming, I thought. Simply not where you think. A week before check-in, the group text was still going. Claudia emailed pictures of the Seabrook Bay Resort, the pool at night, shimmering blue, the balcony with an ocean view, a menu from the seafood restaurant. Then a message: "Mom, I also booked the seafood supper cruise. $480, it'll be on the same card." Same card. My old account. I opened up my financial app. The scale read 12.34. Same 12.34 sitting there since March. Claudia was going to put a $480 dinner cruise on an account that wouldn't even pay for fuel. I didn't answer. I devoured the last of my lunch and returned to work. Some folks just learn from the invoice. Dr. Meredith stopped by my desk at 2 o'clock. You have a smile on your phone, she said. Good news. I answered, something like that. She raised an eyebrow and kept on walking. I returned to payroll. One column didn't balance. I looked for the mistake for 6 minutes. Figures I could cope with. Family couldn't. That Friday, Brandon got the kids. Sophie got out before the truck had come to a complete stop. We're going to Seabrook Bay, she said. Your mom's got everything planned, Brandon said. Ethan followed more quietly, clutching a plush dinosaur he refused to relinquish. The kids went upstairs to pack and Brandon leaned on the porch railing. Claudia was standing in the doorway. You sure there's enough on Marissa's card? He inquired. She pays $150 a month, stated Claudia. That's got to be $2,000 minimum by now. Brandon did the maths under his breath. And your mother has the card. She left it with her. Brandon smiled. You already paid for that. The kids returned with their suitcases. Brandon tossed them into the truck and sped off. Claudia stood in the doorway until the taillights disappeared. Then she went in by herself. That I found out months later from someone who heard it from Brandon at a barbecue. But one thing I couldn't forget. He left and Claudia sat at the kitchen counter and glanced at a photo of her phone. It was me and Ava, laughing on Jekyll Island 2 summers ago, sand on our knees. Ava had no teeth in front. For 5 seconds Claudia's thumb hesitated over the call button. Then she hung up the phone. She could have phoned, she could have asked, she could have explained. She didn't. It happened on a Tuesday, 3 days before check-in, while I was at work. But I can tell you exactly how everything went down because Helen revealed every detail to Nora, and Nora has the kind of recall that doesn't drop a syllable. The final charge was at 10 a.m. at the Ocean View Laurel Suites. $2,400. Denied. Money not enough. Claudia received an automatic email from the resort to her Gmail. Subject: Your payment has been refused. Action needed. A $2,400 charge to the card ending in 7741 had not gone through and payment must be made within 48 hours or the reservation would be cancelled, the body said. The $800 deposit, it warned, was non-refundable. Claudia called Mom at 10:16. Marissa's card was refused. Mom sounded bewildered, as if the world had ceased making sense with the orders she'd been given. The card is here in my purse, she said. Try it in an ATM, Claudia said. So Helen drove to the First Coastal Bank on Main Street. She parked awkwardly and went in and checked the balance. 12.34. She rang Claudia from the bank lobby. $12 only. There was a long enough pause for her to look at the screen twice. It isn't possible, Claudia said. She puts in money every month. Well, it's not there now. Perhaps she moved it. Then Claudia added, I'm calling her. She did. I was sitting at my workstation in the clinic typing in a payment for a cat's dental cleaning when I saw her name pop up on my phone. I refused the call, turned the phone face down and finished the entry. First try column balanced. She had planned for months around money that was not hers to plan around. Now the clock was ticking, 48 hours. If you've ever seen someone try to spend money they didn't earn, you know the feeling. On her kitchen table, Claudia opened up her credit card app. Limit 3,000 balance, 1,800. 1,200. In stock she had to have 2,400. She was half a man short. She rang Brandon first. You'll lend me 1,200? Brandon laughed. Not mean. Just astonished. I don't have that kind of cash available. Ask your mother. And she did. Helen stared to the wall in her living room, at the portrait of Dad over the TV. I keep my savings for emergencies, she replied. This is an emergency, shouted Claudia. It's a holiday, Claudia. Helen, however, did go to the bank. She took out $600 from the account I had set up for her. Cash. She gave it to me in an envelope. Claudia pulled together another $600 on her credit card, the rest of her available credit. She was at her limit now. She wired $1,200 to the resort, but the total came to $2,400. She was $1,200 short, with 31 hours remaining on the clock. She contacted me again when I was bathing Noah. My phone blinked on the counter. Claudia. I heard it ringing. No answer. It went to voicemail. The text message came 2 minutes later. I know you shifted your money. You need to talk. I've read it. Set the phone down. Returning to reading Noah his shark book. He passed out halfway through a narrative about a whale. The next night at 8:40, lights sliced across my living room drapes. I knew it before the knocking. Claudia was on my doormat in yoga leggings and a scruffy shirt. Mascara ran beneath one eye. She looked like she hadn't slept for days. I opened the door but didn't move away. What did you do with the money? She inquired. My money, I said evenly. It's in my account. But not the one you planned on taking from. Her chin snapped. Snitch. Mom is an authorized user. Why didn't you ask me then? Silence. We need the money, she replied. The kids are depending on it. Your children, I said. Not my own. You said it. She dropped her voice. I'm sorry for what I said. Sure. I can help you. For Mom. I let the apology sit there. You said to my daughter she wasn't true family, I responded. That's it, then. I moved backwards and closed the door. The deadbolt clicked, loud enough for her to hear. I observed her for 10 seconds standing there, through the window. Then she kicked the welcome mat to one side and walked away. The next morning, Mom contacted the clinic. She knew I couldn't ignore it. Marissa, can't you just return the money to the family? I sat back in my chair. A cat with an ear infection sat still in the adjacent exam room. Mom, you clutched my card like it was your own. You informed my children they weren't welcome. That was Claudia's idea, she responded hurriedly. I just went with it. That's the trouble, I said. You always just go along. Tears started to fall. I stood still. Toughened. Did not repair it. Then she said it. Your father would be so angry with you. That was meant to break me down. My dad told me to stop helping when it started hurting, I said. I quit. The queue went quiet and then ended. I put the phone down, finished my invoicing and fed the clinic cat at 3:30 as usual. On the way home from work, I stopped at Freshmart for milk, bread and bananas. Aisle 3, near the cereal. Nora Whitman stood comparing 2 boxes of oats like one of them owed her money. She looked up when my cart rattled by. Marissa. She set both boxes down. I heard about the trip. I halted the cart. Mom told you? Helen asked me to talk to you, Nora added. I told her no. She folded her arms, not violently, just firmly, like someone prepared to speak something true. I was at Sophie's birthday. I watched Claudia take you into the kitchen. I noticed your mother carrying the card. You don't owe anyone a thing, Marissa. I looked at the cereal shelves. Store brand. 2 for $5. I know, I said. Your daddy would say the same, she continued. Nora didn't make it a speech. She didn't need to. She had known my father for 30 years. They served together on the church building committee. He fixed her bathroom sink twice and never took $1. I nodded. Nora reached over and squeezed my hand, quick and steady, like pulling someone across a ditch. Then she picked up the cheaper oatmeal and put it in her cart. Have a good summer, honey, she said. That was it. No advice. No lecture. Just recognition. I drove home, parked, and sat in the car for a minute with the engine off. Then I went inside and told myself, pack the car tonight. Leave tomorrow. At 9 p.m., the kids were asleep. The apartment was quiet except for the refrigerator hum and a faucet drip I kept meaning to fix. I had to fill up the car 4 times. Cooler in the backseat floor. Turkey sandwiches wrapped in foil. Juice boxes. Grapes in a Ziploc. String cheese for the road. Duffel bags in the trunk. Beach towels from the linen closet. Noah's shark goggles went on top so he'd see them first. I checked the reservation again. Harbor Isle Inn, Ocean View Room 6. Check-in 3 p.m. confirmation saved on my phone and written on a sticky note in my wallet. I don't trust technology when it matters. I set my alarm for 5 a.m. and texted Dr. Meredith that I was taking Friday off as planned. 3 dots came back. Have the best time. You deserve it. I locked the door, poured lemonade from the pitcher Ava and I made on Sunday, and sat on the porch steps. The street was quiet. A porch light across the road. A sprinkler ticking somewhere. The kind of silence that doesn't demand anything from you. 4 missed calls from Claudia. 2 from Mom. I let them sit. Didn't listen. Didn't open them. Tomorrow I would drive south with the windows down, kids singing off-key, and none of those messages would matter. I opened my wallet. Dad's letter was still folded behind my license. I didn't read it. I already knew it by heart. I finished the lemonade and went to bed. Same day, 2 p.m., about 250 miles north. This part one pieced together later from Nora, from Helen, and from Sophie. Claudia's SUV pulled into the Ocean View Laurel Suites parking lot after a 4-hour drive. Helen sat in the passenger seat, stiff from the ride. Sophie and Ethan pressed their faces to the windows, already talking about the pool. Claudia walked into the lobby with sunglasses on her head and a rolling suitcase behind her. The front desk clerk typed her name, then typed it again. I'm showing a remaining balance of $2,400, she said. A partial payment of $1,200 was received yesterday, but full payment is required at check-in. You're still short $1,200. Claudia pulled out her credit card and slid it across the counter like confidence could change the outcome. The clerk swiped it, waited. I'm sorry, declined. Claudia stared at the screen. Helen sat down in a lobby chair. I don't have any more money, she said quietly. Sophie tugged at Claudia's arm. Mom, what's happening? Where's our room? Not now, Sophie, Claudia snapped. She grabbed Helen's arm and pulled her toward the hallway. Call Marissa, she said. Now. Helen took out her phone. Her hands were shaking for real this time, not the kind she could control. She dialed my number. Harbor Isle. We had arrived at noon. Room 6 was small, clean, and smelled like salt air and lemon cleaner. 2 beds, a kitchenette with a hot plate, and a mini fridge. A screen door opened onto a narrow porch. Noah had his shoes off before I finished unloading the car. Ava was already in her starfish swimsuit, towel over her shoulder, standing at the door like a tiny impatient lifeguard. By 1 p.m., we were on the beach. Ava ran straight into the waves, ankles in the foam, laughing the way kids laugh when the ocean feels new every time. Noah dropped to his knees and started digging. He was 5 and had a plan for that hole. I sat on the blanket with sun on my arms, breeze off the water, sand already in places sand shouldn't be. This is it, I thought. This is the trip. My phone rang at 2:15 p.m. Mom. I looked at the screen. Looked at Ava waist-deep in the waves. Looked at Noah digging with full concentration. I pressed decline. It rang again at 2:16. Declined. 2:17. Declined. Noah looked up, sand on his eyebrows. Mommy, who keeps calling? I slid the phone to the bottom of the beach bag, screen down. Nobody important right now. Let's find those dolphins. He dropped the shovel and ran toward the water. I followed him. The phone kept buzzing inside the bag. I didn't answer. Not once. I wasn't angry. I wasn't making a statement. I was standing in the southern coast holding my son's hand while he looked for dolphins. That mattered more than anything happening 200 miles north. Back at the Ocean View Laurel Suites, 22 calls went unanswered. I know because the phone logs recorded every attempt, and because Helen later described the scene in detail to Nora. Claudia lost control. Not the quiet kind of anger, but the kind that fills a room. She turned on the front desk clerk. She did this on purpose. She moved the money because she's vindictive. Her voice bounced off marble floors and high ceilings and framed watercolor prints of sandpipers. The clerk stayed calm. Please lower your voice. People in the lobby turned to look. A man pulled his children closer. A woman stopped mid-step with her rolling suitcase. Sophie stood near a potted fern, crying quietly, the kind of embarrassed tears a 10-year-old sheds when she realizes her mother is making a scene she can't stop. Ethan pulled on Helen's sleeve. "Grandma, I want to go. I wasn't there. I was 200 miles south, building a sandcastle with a 5-year-old who called it a shark house. But later, when Nora told me what Claudia screamed in that lobby, it stayed with me. Because it echoed something Claudia herself had said before. She couldn't afford it. The same woman who said I couldn't afford it was now standing in a resort lobby, maxed out, unable to pay for the vacation she tried to charge to my account. Claudia tried Brandon. No answer. Voicemail both times. The manager arrived and asked them to step outside. They walked out into the parking lot. No room. $800 deposit gone. Credit maxed. Gas tank half full. The asphalt was hot enough to shimmer. Helen lowered herself onto a concrete bench near the handicap spaces. She looked 10 years older. Inside her purse, a debit card tied to an account with 12, her wallet lighter by $600, and a phone showing 22 missed calls to me. "Who's paying for this?" she asked quietly. Not angry. Not accusing. Just tired. Claudia paced. "Marissa was supposed to." "She didn't agree," Helen said. "You said she wouldn't notice," Claudia snapped. Then Helen said something she rarely ever said to Claudia. "I asked her. She said no." Silence followed. "You went along with it because you said you'd stop bringing the kids to my house if you didn't," Helen added. That was the truth sitting in the open now, in a resort parking lot, with the sound of children playing behind a fence. Inside the SUV, Sophie and Ethan sat with the doors open. Crackers and a Gatorade from a gas station sat between them. Sophie ate slowly. Ethan didn't eat at all. "I want to go home," Sophie said. Then, softer, "I want Aunt Marissa." Claudia snapped. "Don't you dare say her name." Ethan flinched. Nobody spoke for a full minute. The drive back to South Carolina took 4 hours. No one talked for the first hour. Just highway noise and air conditioning set too cold. Around exit 109 on I-95, Sophie stopped playing on the phone and turned the screen toward Helen. "Grandma, Ava, and Noah are at the beach. Look." The photo showed Ava and Noah on Harbor Isle beside a crooked sandcastle. Noah wore his shark goggles pushed up on his forehead. Ava smiled into the sun. I had posted it an hour earlier. Caption: "Beach day with my 2 favorites." Helen stared at the screen, then handed it back without a word. 40 minutes later, Ethan woke up. "Mom, are Ava and Noah at the beach? Why couldn't we go with them?" The car went quiet again. And I kept thinking about Claudia's words, the ones she had said at Sophie's birthday like they were nothing more than instructions. The ones she said like she was reading a grocery list. "Your kids aren't coming. My kids don't want them there." Now it was Ethan asking why he couldn't go with Ava and Noah, her own son, repeating a question her words had created. Helen turned in her seat. "Claudia, what have we done?" Claudia gripped the wheel. "Don't start, Mom." Harbor Isle, sunset. The sky shifted from peach to copper to a deep purple gray that made the ocean look like metal. I sat on the beach blanket with my back against a low dune wall. Ava had fallen asleep on my lap, her hair still damp, sand stuck to her cheek. Noah was 20 feet away still digging. He had been digging all day, different holes, different purposes. This one, according to him, was a trap for crabs. No crabs had fallen for it yet. I pulled out my phone. 22 missed calls from Mom. 14 from Claudia. 3 voicemails. I pressed play on the first one. Helen's voice was cracked and hoarse. "Marissa, the trip fell apart. We drove all the way there for nothing. Claudia is beside herself. The deposit is gone. Please call me back. Please." I listened to all 38 seconds. Then I put the phone back in the beach bag and zipped it shut. I didn't call back. Not because I wanted them to suffer, and not because I was trying to prove a point. There was nothing I could say that would fix what they had done, and nothing they could say that would undo how it was planned. Some conversations don't need to happen immediately. They need to happen when both sides are ready. And I wasn't ready. Mommy, I found a shell. Noah ran toward me, holding his fist up like a trophy. He opened his hand. A sand dollar, broken clean in two, one half larger than the other. Is it still good if it's broken? I turned it in my hand, feeling the rough edge. The best ones always are, buddy. He grinned and ran back toward his crab trap. I looked at the ocean. Dad's letter was in my wallet. Take your babies to the beach. I did. Back in South Carolina, 10 p.m. Claudia's house. Sophie and Ethan were in bed after a long day of driving to nowhere and back. Claudia sat at the kitchen counter with a glass of wine she couldn't afford, staring at her phone. She called Brandon. He responded on the fourth ring. Your brilliant plan cost me $800 and a vacation, she complained. Brandon stayed quiet for a moment. My plan? You told me to use her card. I suggested it. You did it. There's a difference. There is no difference. I didn't tell you to max out your credit card on a seafood cruise. The glass hit the counter harder than it needed to. This is Marissa's fault. A pause. Long enough to imply something. Is it though? Said Brandon. Then he hung up. Claudia sat alone. No resort. No vacation. No deposit. Credit maxed. Money borrowed from Mom already spent. Nothing to chase anymore. She glanced at the fridge. Sophie's sketches. Family shot from Jekyll Island 2 years ago. All 4 kids smiling. She turned the picture over. And finished her wine. We got home Sunday. Tan, exhausted, joyful. Monday morning before I even clocked in, Noah told Dr. Meredith about the dolphin. He described it like it was right alongside the boat, arms held wide to indicate the magnitude, decreasing it from 10 feet to 10 inches as he talked. Dr. Meredith listened like it mattered. She was good at that. Tuesday afternoon. Mom called as I was sitting in my car in the clinic parking lot. Can we talk? She said. I want to apologize. I turned the key back so the radio became silent. I'm listening. I shouldn't have let Claudia decide. And the card? I didn't know she would charge that much. But you knew she would charge something. Silence. A crow landed on the dumpster, then flew off. Mom, I love you, I said. But from now on, my finances are mine. No shared accounts. No cards at your residence. No emergency access. A breath on the other end. Okay, she said softly. Not a fight. Not agreement either. Just acceptance. And Mom, I'm not angry. I'm simply done being the wallet. I know, she said. Maybe she did. Perhaps she hadn't yet. Understanding doesn't happen all at once. It grows slowly, like water wearing away stone. We rang off. I walked back inside, gave the clinic cat dinner, wrapped up my report and picked up my kids at 5:15 as usual. Claudia didn't call back. Not that week. Not the one beside. 2 weeks of quiet. Its own reply. It was one Wednesday, Helen said. Claudia claims she will never forgive you for wrecking the holiday. She'll have to forgive herself first, I answered. Helen didn't reply. 3 weeks after Seabrook Bay, there was a town potluck. Paper plates. Folding tables. Smell of pulled pork and coleslaw. I walked in with Ava and Noah and a dish of potato salad. Claudia was across the room near the dessert table. We saw each other. Her eyes drifted away first. No confrontation. No speech. Just distance. Sophie got up from her table and ran toward us. Aunt Marissa, can Ava come play? Yes, I said. Any time. She snatched Ava's hand and they hurried to the playground. Claudia looked on from across the room. He spoke not a word. Left early. I remained. 8. Nora and I talked about a leak in the roof of the clinic. I got home. Bathing Noah. Read Ava 2 chapters. A regular night. The best kind. If someone needs your bank card to keep you in the family, you were never in the family. You were funding it. That's where it stops. Letter from a plumber who knew the value of his daughter. 22 missed calls. A broken sand dollar that was nonetheless good enough.